All right, what's going on, everybody? I'm Jay Katie. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of my content on like TikTok or Instagram, maybe even Facebook. Wherever you're coming from, appreciate you being here. But so today we're gonna do our first long format video. Realistically, I haven't done much of this because I don't like being in front of the camera, as I'm sure a lot of other creators are. But I don't want to speak for them. But anyways. We got a bunch of good stuff here that a couple of companies have sent to us that want to be a part of the build for the 2025 season, and so on and so forth. But I figured it was time to do this type of video because I've had these parts in my room for I don't know how long now, and I just got to get them out, and I got to do this. So but as you can see behind me, we got a bunch of stuff. We got a Banks, something from Banks. We got something from Steed Speed. I'm really excited about this. We got a Tater-built turbo here, and we also have an Airdog system that we're gonna be throwing on the truck. But we'll go more in depth because I don't know how much we're gonna get into today. I'm thinking what I wanna do today is get the Steed Speed manifold on and probably the Tater-built turbocharger, and maybe the downpipe. But we'll just do what we can do and with what time we have and see where it gets us, because I know for a fact that when it comes to filming yourself and working on your truck, it's probably going to take double the time because you have to keep moving the camera. But anywho, we're going to get it done. All right, before we dive into today's project, I want to give a huge shout out to these three companies right here and their customer service. So when I realized I wanted to start building my motor, I kind of knew what parts I wanted. I've always wanted a Steed Speed manifold, so of course I reached out to them, tell them what I want to do, tell them my vision, and they were all about it. At the time when I reached out, the manifolds themselves were all back ordered for like a couple months, and I forget the woman I talked to, but she was gonna do everything she could to get to me quicker, and she did just that. So it probably took, I think, 3 weeks, and it came from Canada because they're a Canada-based company. It took about 3 weeks to come in compared to the X amount of months that it was back ordered. So huge shout out to Steed Speed and their customer service for getting me this really quickly. And then we got Airdog. I told them the same thing, told my vision, told my what I wanted to do, and they didn't even hesitate a little bit to send this out to me. They recommended the 165, which I believe this is. I'll have to look when we unbox it. But they were like, even if you want to do more than what you plan to do, this will cover it fuel-wise. So we want to get this on your truck and be a part of your build. So huge shout out to these two companies right here. I'm super excited to put these on the truck. And then we got Banks. I might be going a little quick, but bear with me. So we got Banks. This is a downpipe. It has a bigger throat when it comes, pretty much where it comes out of the back of the turbo, where it connects. It's got a bigger throat instead of shrinking. I got this from, I got the idea for this from a Greg A video. He put one on his truck, and it makes sense. Like, more airflow, whatever. So couldn't find it anywhere online. It was like a part that you couldn't get anymore. So what I ended up doing was reaching out to Banks, called them up. I talked to a customer service agent, and then they sent me to, I believe, another person, a product specialist or something. And I gave him the part number, and he was like, yep, we can get that to you. Just you can do a credit card over the phone, whatever. And this thing came in so quickly. But just to try and find this and the customer service that they got, they were able to help me out dramatically with this. So huge shout out to these three companies and their customer service agents, because without them, I probably would have been lost. So anywho, thank you to these three companies. Now we can dive into the video. All right, so here we are. We're in the engine bay. And for all you naysayers, I know this looks like crap. All right, I know it's dirty. I know it's disgusting. I know I got wires everywhere. But that's why I'm doing this video, all right? We're going to clean this up eventually. Not in this video, but this is all going to be gone through and rewired and, buttoned up. So for all you naysayers, get out. But anyways, it's actually a very simple process. There's 2 ways you can do this. Obviously, you got to get your airbox off. And sometimes, if you have this one, I believe you might have to take your fender liner out. We're going to see. But this comes off, this comes off. And then when it comes to the turbo in the manifold, there's 2 ways you can do it. So, obviously, your downpipe, you got to unbolt your downpipe. But after that, you can either take your manifold and turbo out at the same time as one piece. It's kind of a bitch, but we could definitely do that, or we can just take the turbo out separately and then start working on the manifold, which that's probably the way I'm going to do it because it's a little bit easier. And of course, it starts to rain out as soon as I start doing this. But anywho, I think what we're going to do is we're going to get the airbox out, and then we're going to start working on getting the turbo out. Obviously, got to get the downpipe off. 2 bolts right here. 2 bolts, 1 on each side. You can get a ratchet in here. Let's see if I can show you that. But after that, I believe we also have to get off this line here. I honestly forget what this is. It might be coolant, and yeah, don't quote me on that. I forget exactly what this line is, but I remember when I did this manifold, I had to take this line off, I believe. So we'll get something more detailed here in a second. I'm just gonna start ripping some stuff off, get to a point where I can access all this pretty easily, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I just got these downpipe bolts off. There's only 2 of them, 1 on each side. I used a 16 millimeter, if anyone's wondering, 16 millimeter. If yours are really stubborn, spray them with some PB Blaster or something, let them sit, and then, go underneath with a long extension. You can get 2 of these, both of them, from down under. But mine came out fairly easy because I just put this fleece cheetah in not too long ago. But anyways, downpipe's disconnected. Next, what we're gonna do is get the intercooler piping off here, both these clamps. Honestly, might only need to loosen this one here, so that'll pop off the turbo. And then we're gonna work on the oil return underneath here, and then we'll start working on these 4 bolts here. So that's our next step. If you guys are wondering, these clamps here are an 11 millimeter. They fit on there really nicely. And then for this, I use a 7/8 on this. And if this starts backing out with that, you put a 19 on this and a 7/8 on the top. Spin this off, you'll be all right. And then for the bolts down here, there's 2. There's 1 here and there's 1 on the opposite side. These are a 10 millimeter, and I believe we can get these off with just a deep 10. For the other side, it's kind of tricky, but you can get behind there. So these are 10. And there will be a gasket on this. Most of the time, it gets stuck to one of the surfaces, whether it's the tubing side or if it's the actual housing side. Just be aware that there is a gasket here. And when you go to put your new one on, you don't want to be stacking gaskets because that will not seal properly and you'll probably have issues. So these are a 10, just in case you were wondering. Okay, just like I said, looks like the gasket is on the housing here. don't know if you can see that, but it's right there on the housing. So just remember, take that off if you're gonna be reusing your turbo or whatnot. But if you're changing your turbo, it should come with new gaskets, and you shouldn't have to worry about this. But it is there, and I was able to get this off just by putting the ratchet back on it and twisting it with the extension down here. So, moving on. All right, so turbo's out, as you can see. And then next up, what we need to do is get all 12 of these bolts out. This one, I believe, is just a nut for this bracket. But these are 13s, and I believe this nut is a 15. Let's see. Yep, 15. So we're gonna get all that out. Gonna get our EGT probe out, and we should be steady sailing. Now that bolt, these bottom bolts, technically nuts, because my manifold has the studs in the bottom. Man, those were not easy to take out, but they're out now. So just take your time, you'll get it. But those are out, everything's out. There is a gasket that goes here. I will show you right here. This little gasket will be behind there, so don't lose that if for some reason you need to reuse it. All right, as you can see, the manifold's off. Before we put the new manifold in, I want to show you the studs that I got for that, which are, I believe it's these right here, part numbers on it. This is from Full Send Diesel. They did not send me these. I actually paid for these because I do want quality studs, and I don't want to use the old ones with the big spacers. So I think these are gonna look nice, and it's gonna be much easier to install, and if I ever have to take the manifold off again. But also, when you remove your manifold, there's 6 of these gaskets. Sometimes they're a like fabric-y material. Mine happen to be these like stainless steel type gaskets, and like an idiot, I took all the bolts out, and I'm sure you saw in the last clip that they all fell. I lost 2 of them in the process, and I just found both of those. They were on, one was on top of the transmission, and the other one was pinched between the transmission check tubes. So fish them out with a magnet and you'll be good. So I did a little bit of work off camera because I needed to charge my phone, but what I did was I got all these studs put in just snug because you don't have to go crazy on these. So those are in. I got my gaskets in here. I'm just going to use the old gaskets because I don't have new ones right now. I cleaned them up with a Brillo pad, and I also cleaned up the surface where they meet the block, right? So all this, every orifice here was cleaned up, sanded, hit with a Brillo pad. Then I vacuumed out every exhaust port here. So there's nothing inside there. And I'm sure you can see I hit a little bit of this stuff with some matte black paint. Does it look great? No. But does it look better? Sure. Some might beg to differ, but we're ready to put the manifold in, and then we get the turbo in and hopefully get this buttoned up soon. So here's the box. This is how it comes. The manifold, look at that. Sent us some swag. Oh, I'll put that on right now. Anywho, the manifold's gonna come like this. It's gonna come on a board. I believe this is the part number for these studs here. Okay, so These are from Full Send Diesel. And then here's all your hardware for the manifold itself. Looks like there's some new gaskets in here and whatnot, which is pretty cool. So we throwing that on. And then look at this baby. Look at the quality on this thing. Welds look magnificent. You know, it's got that nice matte black color to it. And then, wow. Oh, it looks like you get 2 ports too for EGTs, which is cool. I didn't actually notice that. So that solves my problem. I thought I was gonna have to drill into this, but I'm glad I don't. And then look at that, Steed Speed. Anywho, this thing's awesome. Can't wait to get it in the truck. Look at that, manifold's on and everything's torqued. It said online to torque these to 32 foot-pounds, so that's what I did. And the way I did it was, I'm sure you saw, I went from 1 to the bottom left, and then went up, then bottom right, and I kind of worked my way out in that sort of fashion. Seems like it's on there. I don't think it'll give us any issues. I'll obviously come back in here at some point and recheck all this, but I did put the bung in, or the insert in for the EGT probe. I'm gonna go with this one. It kind of lines up to where the old one was drilled. I don't think it really matters. It might, you know, you can comment below, but I was looking in the hardware bag that they gave me with the manifold, and they did give me new gaskets here, so obviously I went ahead and used those instead of the old ones. And they do give you 2 plugs here if you're not going to use an EGT probe. There is 2 plugs, so I'm going to use one here because I'm not going to be using that one. And I ended up cutting this tab off. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with this so it's not like whacking the manifold, but as you can see, it already scratched over here a little bit, and I'm not too happy about it, but it is what it is. But now here comes the fun. We can put the turbo in, or we can put the downpipe on. Maybe I'll do turbo and then downpipe in another video, probably when I do the Airdog, but we'll see. I might try and fight with this because I know it's going to give me a little bit of kickback down there because it hasn't been taken off in a long time, but I think we'll be good. So after a lot of beating, a lot of heat, and a lot of frustration, we got the old downpipe off. Now, you see here, hopefully all this was worth it. So you can see here that this is a lot thinner, right? Like this kind of thins small, then it goes to big. Well, on the new downpipe, which I'll show you, this thing is a monster. It's absolutely huge. So let's bring it over to the other one. You can definitely tell, let's go like this. You can definitely tell that the neck on this is way bigger than the neck on this. And for some reason, it looks bigger in general. I know it's probably a true 4-inch, and this should be a true 4-inch as well, but hopefully that allows more exhaust gases to go through and not get constricted right here. And I guess we'll see if my EGTs are going to go down or if they're gonna stay the same. But it looks like I might have to weld on a pipe to, you know, kind of match the length of this. What I just did was I took this backing plate off, your downpipe backing plate, which is this right here. This is oriented like this, yeah. So I just took all these bolts out, same thing I did earlier with that turbo. The only difference is we're not going to be using this because with this big downpipe, you need to get the Banks power elbow. Now I bought this used off some guy on Facebook. He shipped it to me. I definitely could have got it from Banks too, but I got this pretty cheap. But in order to use this big downpipe, you need this big power elbow. And because the orifice on this and the orifice, let's just say on a stock downpipe, you know, just it's this is way too big. This doesn't fit over this seated, well, not seated, but you know, this chamfered groove, I guess you call it. It's not really a groove, but this edge. But as you can see on the Banks Power downpipe, monster downpipe, I don't know what you call it, but anyways, you need to run this power elbow in order to use this downpipe. So hopefully, in theory, the EGTs will be cooler. Oh, what a beaut. I think it's been about, I'm gonna say like an hour or so since I last recorded anything because my phone died, so I let it charge. But in that time, what I've done is I painted this power elbow black, so it matches everything nice now. I inserted the fitting for the feed line, got that all tightened up. I tightened up this elbow here for the inner cooler piping. I'm not sure what else I've done. Oh, the downpipe. I got the downpipe on, and I'll show you that. Downpipe is on. I don't know how well this is gonna turn out on, you know, but downpipe is on somewhat tight. I'm gonna have to fab up something for the exhaust. But for now, we got the downpipe on. Other than that, everything should be good to go. I know I have to tighten this before we start it. I did put a little bit of oil in the turbo as well. I think all that we have left to do is get the airbox on and button that up, and I think we should be good. This, I still have to figure out what I want to do with this, but I definitely need a zip tie or something. This transmission wire back so it's away from the manifold. But right now I'm going to tighten this up, and then we should be able to start it. All right, so there we have it. Truck is back together. It's running. I wouldn't say it's running 100%, maybe around 98%, because it had a little bit of popping. You probably heard from it the last clip, but that's why we have the Airdog. I think it's starving for fuel with the bigger turbo now. It's not crazy big over stock, but it definitely is a bit bigger in diameter. It's a 63, 67, so do the math. I don't necessarily know, but I didn't want to go super big and have it be super laggy because it is on an 8-inch lift. But I've definitely noticed when I started it up and gave it a couple of light revs that it has a lot more throat to it, which I love. It sort of reminded me of like a 6.7 with the second gen swap, which who doesn't love the sound of that? But you guys can comment below, tell me what you think about how it sounds and whatnot. I wanted to take it for a drive, but it's starting to get dark, and I have almost every tool in the book out right now. So I got to get this cleaned up, and then I got to get cleaned up, and I'm going to be going out. But maybe I'll save that for the next video. Before we put the Airdog on, I'll do like a review on the performance, the EGTs. I'll kind of go through everything so you guys know if you want to run the same setup that I have. But other than that, I do want to mention that me and the crew are going to be going to Atlantic City. I think it's 3 weeks away or so. June 7th and 8th, I believe. So if you guys are going to make it to that, we'll be there. Come say hi. Come say what's up. Come hang out. It doesn't matter. But I wanted to thank you guys if you made it this far in the video. It's huge. If I'm kind of all over the place, it's because this is like my first long form content video that I've posted to YouTube. So bear with me, we're still learning, but thank you again if you made it this far. And stay on the lookout for the next video. Hopefully we'll be getting that Airdog in and giving a review on this. So with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one.